diviners in China who work with the I Ching, whether it is sort of the classical method that we're familiar with in the West, which is the one where you read the text, or whether it is the Wen Menghua, which is really the most popular method in Asia, which is a more analytical method. It's a bit more like almost like horary astrology or something in the West, where it uses various very analytical formulae and doesn't really rely on the text at all. It really relies on the working of the elements and the Chinese zodiac in there. But either of those methods, there is this notion in China that I've sometimes come across, which I find is an interesting concept, and I think it applies a lot also to tarot and cartomancy. It is the notion of sometimes where they say the oracle does not speak for him, which is to say that the mechanism of that divination, in which case that would be the I Ching, the I Ching itself will not speak for that person. So that person can stand on their head, they can cast as many coins as they like, they can use any technique of the yarrow stalks, they can study with many I Ching texts and teachers as they like, and the oracle might not speak for them. It just refuses to talk to that person. And I think there is a parallel with that with the tarot and with cartomancy, where for some people the cards just don't really work. And this is not connected to their not having the skill to read the meanings of the cards, or even their skill with sort of divination in general, whether they can formulate the question and that kind of thing. There is still a mechanism at work in any form of divination that sort of is mechanical in some sense, and has to do with the tool itself. For example, if you're going to get a bad card in the outcome, when the outcome is good, in reality, the mechanism has not really worked for you, right? So there is sort of this base mechanism in any divination tool, which we rely on. We rely on the pattern of cards to have some accurate bearings on what's going on beyond our ability to interpret the cards. And I'm talking about people who are reading a tool. This is not pure clairvoyant reading. You do get people that read the cards and they don't really read the cards themselves. They're using them as a clairvoyant kind of trigger. And a good reader actually does both of those things. A good reader will combine a tool with their own clairvoyance, and so it's kind of a combination of these things. But most people, when they're reading the cards, for example, they are interpreting the cards, and a certain card means a certain thing in the outcome, and if you're getting a card there that shows an outcome that does not correspond with what actually happens, then something has gone wrong. And this, I feel, sometimes relates to this notion of the oracle does not speak for that person. And this can be that for some people it just will not work. And then also there is this notion sometimes is that there are times that the oracle will not speak for me. Even as a professional reader and reading for myself, I find when it comes to my own family, things where there's a lot of psychological charge, sometimes the oracle will not speak. It's kind of like there is a protective mechanism there, and I will usually go to another competent reader in that event if I need a reading for that. So there is this other mystery, there is this other aspect that I want to illuminate here, that it isn't a given that the cards will be accurate in and of themselves, that there is a mechanism there that we are relying on in the cards, in the tool that we're using to speak to us, and sometimes that mechanism will not work, and that is a mystery why that it has something to do with the tool itself, the mystery of the intelligence that is working through that tool, and perhaps how we relate to that intelligence.